Hello, Mr. Minnick, helping Java students do exercises at the website CodingBat.com. CodingBat.com. There you can see it, CodingBat.com. And my students often have to do logic exercises from the Logic-1 category. And here's a good one. It's called caughtSpeeding. Often in software development, you have to read a real-world business problem or scenario, and it's not always worded in a way that's nice and manageable to read. So you can't see this, but right now on a piece of paper, I'm making a little diagram that takes this chunky paragraph and puts it into a more digestible format for my brain to wrap itself around. Okay, that's just extraneous stuff. You were driving a little too fast and a police officer stops you. Write code. I know I have to write code, blah, blah, blah. So the setup of this information is right here. 0, no ticket, 1, small ticket, and 2, big ticket. I'm going to write that down on my piece of paper because it's just how my brain works. Okay, here's where it gets good. The word if and the word and perhaps the word or are all kind of English pseudocode words that will translate well into code. And then the word unless, oh, I hate the word unless. It's like an exception. That's probably going to be something that turns into code. And last of all, I don't see the word return here, so good luck figuring out what gets returned. But from your previous study of Java or even Python or other computer languages, we often find ourselves in a situation where you have what's called a function or a method, and it returns a single number. Now in this case, in Java, the word int there ahead of the name of the method means that you have to return a whole number, an integer. In other languages like Swift and Kotlin and C and ++, sometimes it's different. You put the word there. Sometimes you don't even have to put the word int as a data type. Sometimes like Python, you just return whatever you want to return. But in Java, that int means that at the end of the day, I must return an integer, such as say 0. So I just make it happy right now by typing return 0. I click go and see if this works. Oh, I forgot the darn semicolon. I forgot. I'm in Java. I'm not in Python or some of those other languages. I need to put a semicolon to, like a sentence has a period at the end. I need a semicolon. Now when I click go, it does kind of technically work. It executes, but it doesn't work correctly as noted by the CodingBat red test cases. So at least now I have something that works, but I need to massage and make it work better. Well, often you can do things in one line of code. But just because you can do things in one line of code doesn't mean that you should. This makes use of what's called the ternary operator, and it technically still runs, but they don't even teach this in AP Java courses because the ternary operator, ? isn't part of the AP exam subset. So if you see an answer on the internet to this particular problem at CodingBat, it's probably some slick answer that uses techniques that you never learned in your high school or even college course, if it's like a freshman year course. Some teachers can tell if you're a little too smart for your own good, using Google as opposed to your own noggin to figure things out. So I am going to bypass that possible solution and do things the nice, slow boil, slow cooker way, rather than the instant pot way which as far as cooking goes is sort of not good. If something, do something, else if something, do something else, and then we might need a bunch of else ifs. That's just the way complicated life is. But at the end of all this, we'll probably have one single else. It wouldn't hurt to just have this somewhere where you can copy and paste it, maybe in a Google Doc or some app that you have where you can always like go copy paste, because this is just a nice outline for life. Logic of selection, conditional logic. This is just the branching structure that often applies. Yes, that could all be turned into one line of code probably, but why? Because then other people would have a hard time reading it. Okay, well, let's go take our written business world problem and find where the if is and where the else if is and where the other else if is and where the else is. Because that's really what this boils down to. Oh, it starts with this sentence right here. That sentence, I'm going to just kind of turn that sentence into some actual Java executable code. If speed is 60 or less, well, I know that speed is an incoming parameter given to us in this problem. So speed can be typed with lowercase speed there. I know that less than or equal to is the way to represent less than 60 or less in Java. And the result is 0, which really just means we're supposed to return a 0. You would not system out print in any of these CodingBat exercises, nor do you usually system out print on the AP exam free response section. Even in the real world of like writing code, you often don't system out print. Sometimes you turn LED lights on a robot. You don't system out print stuff. So there's a whole nother like way of doing things. So the return 0, the return is normally what happens here in a method. Okay, so that handles that case. That sentence, if I could write on my screen, I would like draw a line through that, just like doing a word problem in math. Here in Pennsylvania, we used to have something called the Keystone exams. By the time you watch this video, they probably won't exist anymore, but it'll be replaced by something called Keystone Part 2, and you would like do word problems like this by crossing things out. Test-taking skills sometimes help you get by in the real world. Now I'm down to this sentence. That sentence, I'm going to match that up with an else if. Now some people, instead of one big if, else if, they really just have separate ifs. But be careful, because if you end with an else, that else only ties itself to the last if. And that usually causes logic problems. Sometimes it's called a dangling else logic error. So, plus, it takes longer for the computer to execute several if statements than it would one big chained if-else if. It would take a few extra microseconds, and that sometimes would matter. It doesn't usually on the AP exam. They give you credit for either other variation here. Okay, between 61 and 80 inclusive. Well, this is a way a math teacher would do it, but this is not the way it would work in Java or some other computer languages. You can't do it that way. You just can't. Don't even bother trying. Now, I have all these question marks in, so I can't click go at this time. That gives me compile errors. But maybe I just comment this out temporarily. I block comment it out, and I have it there on my to-do list. Yeah, I'm going to order dessert, but I don't want it on the table yet. So I'm back to a point where I can just put in something simple like that. For now, return 1, and it is, darn it, it's still not compiling. Oh, the point I was trying to make is you can't do this in Java. So you need to break that up into 2 halves with an AND operator. Unlike Python or another language that supports the use of the word AND, in Java we need this nasty double ampersand. So I click go. But that still doesn't work. Oh, that's right. You have to repeat the name of the variable that you meant there because it does not know that you were talking about speed. It could be this variable is birthday that was meant to be there for all Java knows. It doesn't say, oh, you mean you're talking about speed still? Well, you got to explicitly type speed there in that half of the compound Boolean expression. The and is a Boolean operator, and this is a compound expression, meaning it has two parts to it. And now this should work again. It works, but it doesn't give me all the green that I would like, the way CodingBat works. So what were we supposed to do if the speed was between 61 and 80? The result was supposed to be 1. I am returning a 1. So now I'm getting desperate. I'm looking to see what's not working. Oh, true. Oh, I never even made use of the parameter is birthday. Generally speaking, these people at CodingBat.com do not try to trick you with extraneous parameters. In general, the APA exam doesn't do that either. Life does that sometimes. Sometimes you get paperwork that you end up not needing, and you file it away. Maybe you scan it and keep it somewhere archived. But here, this parameter is birthday is needed somewhere to get the complete job done. Oh, I never used up all of my given information. So far, we've crossed out these two sentences. That is being handled by the if. This is being handled by the else if. I didn't even try to handle this case yet. So let's tackle that. If speed is 81 or more, return the result is 2. Okay, I can do that. That's pretty simple. Else if speed is greater than or equal to 81. Okay, so now I'm ready to go live with returning the number 2. The result is 2. A big ticket. Whoa, a big ticket. It's probably like over $100. These days, it's probably over $300 for speeding that fast. So 2, big ticket. 1, small ticket. 0, no ticket. Oh, because they were driving safe under the speed limit. Okay, let's see if this all works. Well, it works. Should not use println. I didn't use a println. Oh, I still have this stupid thing here. So I'm going to just delete that at this time. Okay, it works again, but it doesn't work correctly. I'm still not handling all the test cases that were given, but I still didn't do everything that was given in my written paragraph. Unless it is your birthday, on that day, the speed can be 5 higher in all cases. Oh, how do you even start that? The speed can be 5 higher. So if the speed is 65 and true, it is your birthday, you don't get a ticket. You don't get one of these small tickets. So this is only if it's not your birthday that you get that medium ticket and you're between there. This is only true if it's not your birthday. Hopefully everybody watching this video knows that the not operator in Java is an exclamation mark. It's not the word not put in front of a Boolean variable. And another way of saying not is birthday is saying not parentheses is birthday double equals true. Now that's just a long way of doing the same thing as just saying if his birthday is true. So we really didn't need the double equals true there. We can just slap. So now I've more adequately addressed the situation for somebody who isn't on their birthday. And I'll throw this in, and not is birthday. I forgot that one. So far I still haven't correctly handled the situations where it is your birthday. Notice the pattern. My red is where we have the true as the second parameter, although this one works, but that's when you're driving so slow that even if it is your birthday, it's still no ticket. So we still have to handle a case where it's your birthday? Well, else if is birthday and your speed is 5 higher than the speed limit, that's when you get a ticket. So I'm trying to literally translate the English into code. There are other ways that some students think this out, but often when you have trouble, it's best, at least for CodingBat exercises, to go sentence by sentence and try to do direct translations, even if it takes you 100 else if clauses. So if it is your birthday and your speed is 5 greater than 61, and your speed, well, if it's 5 greater than 61, you still get a small ticket. So, and your speed plus 5 is less than or equal to 80. Then you get one of those medium-sized tickets. So I'm repeating this else if clause, but with the situation of is birthday brought into the mix. Hopefully I have less red test cases now than I had before. Well, maybe it's just because they didn't run enough test cases to satisfy it, but the fact is I still have some red test cases. I still have to handle the really fast speeder, the person that gets the big ticket. So I'm going to copy and paste, Command-C on a Macintosh keyboard and Command-V to paste. And here, if your speed is greater than or equal to, the speed plus 5 is greater than or equal to 81, then you get one of these big tickets. Even on a birthday, you don't get a freebie. You get an extra 5 miles an hour. And sometimes things just don't work out. Timed out. I don't know what a timed out means. I'm going to click go. I'm going to highlight all my code and copy it to my clipboard in case I lose it all when this browser refreshes. I don't trust CodingBat right now. There, CodingBat was just having a bad hiccup. I'm still back. Now I have the inevitable like 1 or 2 red test cases. So let's take them on individual bases. 65 is the first parameter. True is the second parameter. That means it is your birthday and you get an extra 5 miles an hour. I'm supposed to get a 0 as a return value, but my run is giving me a 1. So why am I getting a ticket for driving 65? When I have a plus 5, it's returning 1 there, and it shouldn't be. Can anybody live in my classroom that might be listening to me help figure out why I'm getting a 1 here, why this is true, and I'm not coming down here to the else? And by the way, that return 0 works as the else would, which does not have to be explicitly typed out. This is actually better to have else. It's better to have the plain return 0 there. Forgot to emphasize that. So I'm going to change it back to just the plain return 0 at the tail end. Well, let's run through the test case that didn't work. When speed is 65 and the parameter is birthday is true, why is it not working correctly? So right now I'm just going to remind myself here in this video that speed is 65 and is birthday equals true. And let's evaluate the first if statement. Speed less than or equal to 60. That would be a false, and false ANDed with anything else overall is false, meaning we don't return a 0, which is good. We didn't want to. Trickle down to the else if. Speed is 65. Is this true or false? That would be true. If speed is 65, is that true or false? That would be true. If we do the AND according to order operations first, a true ANDed with a true overall is true. So far, so good. Is birthday is currently true, but the not of a true overall is a false. That makes this whole thing false, which means we don't return a 1. Okay, that's correct because this was only if it's not your birthday, but right now it is in this test case. Similarly, I can rule out this as being the culprit here that's causing errors. Because this is true, and the not of a true is a false, and a false ANDed with anything here on the left is a false, this overall is false, and therefore is not returning a true. So now we've trickled down to this else if clause, which is the one that's causing us grief. That's the one that's causing us right now to throw a 1 back as a return value when we should be getting a 0. So let's dive into this very carefully. Maybe you have a piece of paper where you can write on a piece of paper, but I'm just going to try to do this in my head for the sake of this video. Well, it is your birthday. This is true. So a true ANDed with anything else is true. And this right here simplifies to the number 70. 70 is indeed greater than or equal to 61. So this is true. And speed plus 5 simplifies again to the number 70. And 70 is indeed less than or equal to 80. So that's true. So we're getting a true, ANDed with a true, ANDed with a true, which makes all of this true. And that's why we're getting a 1 as our runtime test case. But we should be getting a 0. Because 65 is in that legal window of, so I'm just going to wing it and say, and speed is, speed plus 5 is greater than or equal to 65. Oh, that's redundant with this. Oh, so if I would have just put a 5 there and not put the plus 5 there, that's another way of thinking it out, that my speed had to have been strictly greater than 65. Because I get an extra 5 miles an hour on the 60 when it's my birthday. Actually, no, I needed to keep the equals. So adding the 5 to the right side of this expression instead of the left side might have originally fixed my whole problem, and that did. It got me more greens except for this one last remaining 1. This is an edge case. A boundary case is sometimes called an edge case. Sometimes people wing it and they just take away the equal symbol and hope that it works. And wow, it worked. I have no idea why that worked, but I did identify the fact that it was because of the cutting edge, the boundary, that I was getting one red test case. Now someday, when somebody watches this video, they'll probably email me at cminnick@yoarea.org to tell me what I said incorrectly in this YouTube video. And maybe they'll just nicely, respectfully put it in a comment with a timestamp of where I messed up. But sometimes you just wing it and you take away an equal symbol and it works. I hate to commit this to the public video archive, but Minnick got by on this day in 2018. Happy coding, and I'll catch you in a later video.